this week's edition of WCS Sports Connection. I'm your co-host, Jimmy Qualls, and with me as always is our resident expert this week in cheerleading, Tate Mathews. Tate, we got to give a shout out to our cheer squad. 75 to 80 divisions all our squads are competing in various divisions at the TWCA State Championship this weekend, and Wilco swept just about every one of those divisions. Would you like to give your insight on cheerleading?
Well, it doesn't surprise me. I know we're really good at it, and so it's what we do, right? Second to none.
We were going to get
in that your little hashtag.
That's right. Second to none, one conference, one goal. We were going to get Coach Chad Kirby to Skype in and give us a play-by-play because he was there.
His daughters won.
That's right. In the small division, Franklin, the Lady Rebs were champions. In the medium division, Ravenwood, 5 in a row for Ravenwood as state champions. In the large group, Centennial were champions. In the super large, Brentwood got runner-up. In the small co-ed, we didn't have that. That's the only one that we didn't have a team in. But in the large co-ed, Old Sparty, state champions.
Pretty impressive. All seriousness, what obviously enrollment doesn't have? Is it how many you have on your roster? What decides what classification you're in?
It's overall enrollment, and I'm not sure about the small co-ed. Obviously, all of our co-ed teams are the larger squad, so we don't have one. But it is done by enrollment, and you get to think Franklin won the small division. So, congratulations to all those anyways, because you're asking me questions I have absolutely no answers to, so I'm going to just move on. 31 WCS Sports Conference in the early signing period. You know, this is something we talk about quite often. It's something that we love a whole lot. Let's look at some of these. Now, we don't have time to talk about them all, but we will give you some highlights here. Michael Shears, no stranger, Wilco's finalist, Franklin golfer, going to Vanderbilt University, has a TWCA low round of tournament history of a 64, and it may be a 62. 64, 62, I know that he shot one of those two in the region. Mr. Producer may be able to find that for us. Catherine Coffey, Brentwood High School track and field star, going to the University of Louisville. Garrett Joyner, volleyball standout. You know, she didn't get to play this year, obviously, to injury, but she's going to Purdue. She was a Virginia commit and flipped to Purdue after the coaching change there. Summer Henry going to IU, Indiana, which is interesting. You think about all the tennis schools. Summer Henry, obviously, finalist for not only Wilco and winner, recipient of the Girls Tennis Player of the Year, but also up for Female Athlete of the Year, multiple state champion, going to IU. You think of IU, you think of
basketball.
But obviously, the tennis program there is really good. Her mother did.
It's a very good school. I mean, academically.
Yeah, her mother informed me that they have a top tennis program as well at the state championships last year. So I find that to be a neat little setting for her. Gigi Maddox, Auburn University cross country and track, Wilco finalist. You've heard these names before. DeMonte Dixon, big man for Summit, 6'8", 6'9" kid. Power forward going to Illinois State. Josh Goodwin, excited about that, as well as everybody should be down there. That's 2 Division I players they've pushed out in 2 years in a row.
Pretty strong, and that's going to be fun. They play a lot of big basketball there. You know, isn't that where Kevin Stallings was from before he came from Vanderbilt? I believe it was. So they got a good one in DeMonte. All those are awesome. That's what I love. When you just look down through there, Vanderbilt, Alabama, Huntsville, Freed-Hardeman, Louisville. I mean, we're covering them all.
Covering them all.
And when you look at the sports, golf, soccer, softball, track and field, volleyball, tennis, track, swimming, Natalie Van Noy, Ravenwood going to Queens University of Charlotte.
You beat me. You beat me to it. Now, what division, what conference, where is the Queens?
I don't know. But it
so
sure
Mr.
sounds
Producer,
very prestigious.
that's, of course, your Queens University of Charlotte. We will find out before the end of the show where that is.
Lacrosse, women's lacrosse.
We pretty much run the gamut. We'll try to get this complete compiled list up on so you can see that as well. Congratulations to each and every one of them. It doesn't matter regardless of level of sport, of university, college you're going to. It is a very difficult nut to crack. Less than 5% make it at the collegiate level athletically. So congratulations to all those. Last year we did break a record at 118 signees at $10 million in athletic scholarships. Hopefully we can supersede that. But that late signing period, that's where you'll get all your football guys. You'll get everybody in that group, and this number will be very big, very large. It always is. We have been at triple digits every year. So, all right, football playoffs week 2 in the books. Tate, we came in with 7. We left with 3. Wasn't exactly the week that I had hoped for us, but man, It's so difficult. Luck has to be on your side. Everything has to go perfectly from this point forward, as we had a few of our teams get bumped. But one team that survived, one team that's still looking pretty good, is the Fairview Yellow Jackets. Coach Hughes couldn't be with us today. We invited him to the show. He couldn't make it.
There was a lunch buffet at Snappy's.
At Snappy's.
Recapping the game.
Hey, we've got him here. He's going to be right in my little front pocket with me. One thing that does hurt my feelings a little bit, probably yours, is that the fact that Rudy Kalis comes out once a year. He gets a jersey by the athletic director, Ricky Jones. They missed that, and they get a jersey. What's up? We gonna get a jersey?
I don't know. Game
did you
day.
have him on the radio this weekend?
I did, and we were there game day at the beginning of the year.
Oh yeah, I forget about that.
I believe you picked them.
Maybe.
No jersey.
Yeah.
I like jerseys.
Are they in Williamson County?
Yes, sir.
Okay, let's continue on.
I know this. They had a big win.
Fairview 9-3, looking real good. Coming in, Giles County was coming in. A lot of people were talking about Giles County, and this being a pretty good game, close game, if you will. Fairview won 27-6 and didn't probably play their best game, but Darius James, the 3A Mr. Football semifinalist, 209 yards rushing.
Wow, and I did it on over like 25 carries, I believe. So that's not something he's had to do a whole lot. You love to see that come this time of year. But the guy, he's not a Mr. Football semifinalist for nothing, right? I mean, he's one of the top running backs in the mid-state, and 209 yards, and he did. He played well, and he's a guy that he could play for anybody. 3A, 4A, 5A, 6A, doesn't matter. He could play for anybody. And the thing I was most impressed was I thought they'd win this game, but I thought it'd be, they'd score more like 40, 50, and because Giles County has one of the best quarterbacks in the mid-state in Backus, and they've got that really nice wide receiver, KJ Ziegler, and I mean they just shut them down. 6 points. That was a great defensive performance by the Yellow Jackets. Really got after them, and then offensively, like I said, they did it with the run game, but got a couple field goals in there. Talking to Coach Hughes this weekend, they got in the red zone and didn't get touchdowns. That never sits well with him. He said he learned from earlier in the playoffs against Stratford. He went for them. They talked him into getting the field goals. He did it, and nice, easy win for him. But again, the thing that jumps out to me is the holding Giles County to 6 points. That's an outstanding defensive performance. You look at the record, and while they weren't a 10-win team, the ones they lost, they scored a lot of points. Nobody has held them to 6 points, I think, except for maybe a 6A program.
Christian and Cam West, don't forget about those two guys. The brothers, the duo there, had 85 yards total with Christian Lusk with 61 yards of rushing as well. They're an integral part. They have so many pieces there that have to go perfectly.
Sure.
Because and I know when you're on the 3A level with your depth, you got to have guys go both ways.
Without a doubt.
These guys are playing both ways. It's not a team of 100-plus kids where you can pick and choose where they play. These guys have to go both ways. I know that
did Christian get a pick? I think he did, or some sort of a turnover, which he keeps playing better and better too. So, like we talked about last week, we talk about his brother a lot because he's a quarterback, and we should, but he's a big part of it on both sides of the ball.
Well, they have a tall task this week. Fairview sitting at 9-3. I had this conversation. I think we talk about it quite frequently. I think you'll agree with me. This 9-3 team, I think, is better than the undefeated team from last year. They're battle-tested. They've played better competition. Now, unbeknownst to him, as we signed up for that Ravenwood game, that it was going to be like Ravenwood was going to be as good as they are.
Right.
But that is something that needs to be set in the tone every year. You got to play those teams, get better. When you talk about it, I sound like I'm a broken record, but it's going to pay off. And this week is the week it's going to have to pay off. You're going to see a team of Pearl Cone that's going to be extremely athletic. It's going to be fast. Now, are they faster than Ravenwood? We'll never know because they've never played, but they have to be comparable.
Yeah, they're explosive. Well, let's put it this way. You've got two of the Mr. Football semifinalists you're going to see in Darius James from Fairview at running back and then Jamarius Parker, Jay Parker, Pearl Cone. They're a little bit different, but they're two of the best backs in the mid-state. And Jamarius for a little bit different reasons, but he's one of the most explosive guys that you're going to see around. And it doesn't matter who you're playing. If you give him a seam, he's gone. And he runs hard too, so they're going to have to gang tackle him, know where he is. They move him around. They might put him at tailback. They might put him out at wide receiver. If you kick to him, I saw that up close and personal. If you kick to him and he takes it back, that's on you because you should have known not to. I'd kick away from him. But no, he's very talented. But they've got other guys too. So I think the thing that we saw from the Stratford game, going into these first 2 rounds of the playoffs, I think Stratford's better than what people thought they were. The reason that was a tight game is I think they were pretty athletic. So are they faster than Ravenwood? In some spots, yes. Overall, probably not. A little bit different, but it's going to be it's definitely going to be their toughest task of the playoffs so far.
And they still have to, they're still going to have to stop Darius James.
Yeah, without a doubt.
He can handle his own in that group. It's just you can't give up the big plays like you said. And speaking of Darius James, here he is in the WCTV Sports Short. We'll be back. So you talk about that. You see the speed there. What's going to give Pearl-Cohn speed versus Fairview Darius James' speed. That's why they play the game. Nobody ever knows. Everybody's always automatically picking Pearl-Cohn. If the game is at Pearl-Cohn, you got kids from Fairview walking up in there. They're going to have the fish going. They're going to have all that. That atmosphere is awesome, at Pearl-Cohn. So I know that Coach Hughes and his group will be ready to go. Maybe Rudy Kalis can give them a jersey up there and they can fly in and give them some luck like they did this past week.
Well, here's what I think. I mean, Pearl-Cohn's explosive on offense, but they've given up points on defense, and you can run the ball on them. Well, obviously that's something Fairview can do. So, no, I don't think Fairview's an underdog in this at all. They're going to have to play well. They're going to have to, they're going to have to go out and run the ball. They're going to have to not turn the ball over.
There is nobody in the state that thinks
Fairview
can
thinks
win
they
this
can.
game. That's all that matters.
That's right.
But nobody in this state thinks they can win this game. Nolensville, the Visor, finishes at 4-8. Man, tough loss against Maplewood. They knew they knew they could win this game. They played pretty much 2.5, 3 quarters like they could win this game and knew they were going to advance, but they ended up getting beat score late, 26-21, and a heartbreaker to the Nolensville Knights. What's the future hold for the Knights?
Oh, think about it. I mean, second year of being a school, being in the building, no seniors in the building.
Can't even drive cars.
Can't even drive cars. Made it to the second round of the playoffs. As we mentioned last week, defeated a region champ in Livingston Academy, and everybody's back. Future's bright, man. Had a chance.
This fathead will have a smile on it next year.
Yeah, that's right. I don't know, man. He's kind of looking. He's serious mode there, but you know they had, and you don't. It's not an excuse. It is what it is. You take Bobo Hodges, the quarterback out of Maplewood.
Good player.
Good player. Athlete, man. Heck yeah, and he
yep.
should be. You know, he can beat you with his feet and his arm. You know, you take that guy away, that's a totally different ball game. Now, he was there, but they still had a chance to win. I think the future's so bright for them. I know this. You know, we're on the first year of a 2-year contract on the schedules, right? Nobody's real excited about seeing Nolensville next year.
Well, Brandon Morton, you got to start there. 16 rushes, 153 yards, accounted for 1 touchdown. Dooley not 100% health-wise, 41 yards. I mean, they're going to continue. These guys are going to get bigger,
right,
stronger, faster. They're going to add some depth in positions, maybe not have to go both ways on every play. You know, it's going to be fun to watch.
Campbell's back. He's a big play guy.
Here's the thing. We can't just crown them off the bat. Obviously, there's got to be a lot of things learned. You know, we talked about it. Mentally, they've got to figure out things. They've got to get over the hump. They've got to mature in that process, and they will. You got to be able to face adversity. You got to have some luck. Right. You got to stay healthy. So many things go into play. You go back and you look at the Ravenwood run that he had. Everything went perfect. Nobody got hurt. Got a couple lucky bounces of the ball, you know, their way during that run, and then mentally. Think about where they were mentally. The first year you get beaten double overtime. Think about where they were mentally. They circled that game on their calendar, and they were not going to be denied that game. And they went in there and won that game against Maryville the second go-round. That's what's got to happen. Now you got to say, you know what? If we're going to be the favorite, we got to act like it. We got to own it, and they will. I believe they will in that 4A group. You agree or disagree?
I agree. Think about it. Who else can say they've got everybody coming back?
Not a single team.
Them.
Not a single team.
Everybody. They're all going to be a year older.
Speaking of history, old Sparty, man, just keeps plugging away. Ty Carter, no Ty Carter. They keep going. The return of Cash Money. Ethan Cash is back. Look, what they've done rushing-wise. Let's look at this for a second. Odomegwu, 1,280 yards for the year. Ty Carter, 1,225. He didn't play half the season, half the games in the second half.
Right.
Missed a couple of those games. Peyton Craig, you want to talk about somebody that can flat do it. You look at this guy run out, and this is no disrespect to him. I mean, he's 5'10", 145 pounds, and this guy can flat move.
Dang right.
You can put him in a shoebox and he's getting out. This guy can fly. 1,029 yards. He surpasses the 1,000-yard mark. Old Sparty, 9-2. We give him a hard time about Eric Coleman in the vertical passing game, but hey, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. 3 players, 1,000-yard rushers this year.
Big time. So you can't do that without an outstanding offensive line. Right, those guys they're the guys. You know, if you want to give somebody an MVP this year, give it to the offensive line because they deserve it.
Absolutely.
And then those wide receivers on the outside blocking downfield too. When you get those long runs, they're a big part of it too. But yeah, it's unbelievable to have those 3 guys over 1,000 yards. There's a lot of people that would love to have one running back go over 1,000 yards. And you mentioned Eric Coleman. Cash is back. He completed 1 pass. This is all that matters. He completed 1 pass. It was for 58 yards, I believe, for a touchdown to Odomegwu. The threat
is back.
The threat's back, and you better honor it. And it couldn't have come back at a more perfect time because we got a big one this week. But, hey, are we going to throw it 20 times a game? No. But what we need to do, we need to back those guys off, get a little bit of them out of the box. It was his first game back, knock some of the rust off, and the threat of that passing game right there, especially downfield, I think that's invaluable for the Summit Spartans.
One thing I think it goes unnoticed, and we don't talk about it a lot, we always talk about the glitz and glamour of the offensive side of the ball, but look at the defensive side of the ball. Page comes in, it's a household name. Everybody knows about sophomore star down there, Bubba Johnson. The Summit defense holds Bubba Johnson to 59 yards rushing. maybe one of his lowest totals all year.
I would think so, without a doubt. And then, so then they had to rely more on the passing game. Cade Walker had his best game passing at quarterback, but that's because Summit kind of took them out of what they were doing. But, and everybody talks about it. Nobody likes seeing that team for the second time. And so for Page to be able to beat them twice this year, for Summit to be able to beat Page twice that year, that's even more impressive what they've done. It just goes to show to the maturity of this team. And they believe, man. They believe.
I'm not sure Mr. Producer has enough time to find this, but 3,534 yards of total offense by 3 people.
That's pretty strong.
37 touchdowns. Is there another school? I don't know.
Ever?
I'm sure there is. I know there is. I'm not saying this is a record, but that's unheard of in today's West Coast style, vertical passing, all the things that like to go on, the glitz and the glamour. Get 3 guys over 1,000 yards.
And you know it's coming. That's something I love about it.
You can see it coming.
You know it's coming, and they're still doing it.
It's pretty amazing.
That's impressive.
Page had a great year as well. Page finishes the year 8-3. Coach Rathbone and his group, with Van Landingham, with Bubba Johnson, Cade Walker, Will Pierce, great year. Burdick, unfortunately, gets hurt early in the season. That makes a difference at DB and what you have to do there. But
and I'm glad because a lot of people before, Page has got to move up to 5A. I'd say they did fine.
They made their mark pretty good.
That's right.
Brentwood, 9-1, going into this week playing against Cane Ridge. This is kind of the game that everybody was looking forward to. The lone loss of Cane Ridge was from an earlier victory of Brentwood, 41-21, earlier in the year. What happened? I know Cane Ridge is a good game, and this is my theory. Tell me. It's hard. It's so hard to beat a team twice, specifically when they're this good. And this is one of those games that, and I say this all the time, it's a whole lot easier to sell the loss from earlier in the year than it is to sell that win, to keep them focused on this thing. Now, Ravenwood blows my theory out of the water with the Ravenwood-Indy game, but at the same time, when this team is as good as Cane Ridge is, and they're sitting there thinking, give us one more shot. Give us one more shot, because I think there was a lot of turnovers in that first game.
They forced the quarterback for Cane Ridge, Corey Andrews, into 5 interceptions. That was something that worried me a little bit. Was that he threw 5 interceptions the first game. He didn't do that this game.
And you knew that wasn't going to happen again, right?
I wouldn't think so. He's a young first-year starting quarterback, and what was that, week 2 or week 3 of the season? Mm-hmm. So you didn't think that was going to happen. And then the other thing is, Shacklet hit him on 3 long touchdown passes because they were kind of playing them tight and trying to take away that quick passing game, that quick short passing game, which if you can, you should. The problem with these kind of guys is they're athletic. They got the DBs that they can roll up. Problem is last time we beat them, and then I wasn't there, but it sounds like, and I saw this up close and personal with Hillsborough, with those kind of teams, it sounds like they were sending the dogs. And when and we're a little bit beat up on the offensive line, when you have a hard time blocking those guys 5-on-5,
it's hard to get those deep balls.
It's hard to get your offense going. And it sounds like that happened. Shacklet was pressured all game long, and Cane Ridge is a really good football team. But when you can't do what you're used to doing, and they're pressuring you, getting out of your offense, the big plays went away. That means they were going to have to drive at 10, 11, 12, 13 play drives. Doesn't sound like they did it.
I really thought that Independence was going to have a really good shot of winning this game. Matter of fact, I think a lot of people did going into this game. Second time around, same theory that I give every time. It's a whole lot easier to sell to your guys on the fact, they beat you the first time. They shouldn't have. We can beat them this time. 34-7. Yeah. I think that's caught a lot of people off guard.
I think even more impressive than the 34 is the 7. This defense is playing really well. Anthony McCarthy is the guy who, on the front 7, keeps it together. Cole Carteau on the back. This is a nasty defense. I'm telling you, we've talked about it. This defense reminds me of those defenses that played Maryville twice in the 6A finals. So I don't know if the offense is there yet. This defense you can win with.
He's liking it.
And I think it's the new haircut.
It has to be.
Without a doubt.
We're going to have to figure out. I wonder if Coach Tiger is going to come up with something different for him to go for this year. This week, if we beat Cane Ridge. I don't know if you get past the frosted tips, though.
It's pretty strong.
Popcorn City is what I'm looking for, baby. Let's bring it on. All right, here we go. This week, 3 games. We finish out the year right now. We're at 42-20 overall non-conference. We go 1-2 last week. Tough week for the WCS Sports Conference, but not that wasn't real football. This is real testers coming up for all 3 games. We're looking at the 3A bracket first. Fairview 7-3, traveling to Pearl-Cohn 10-2. Looking at some quality wins Pearl-Cohn has. Giles County 49-27, CPA 49-46, Marshall County 28-24. Talk about the CPA game real quick.
Oh, it was a shootout. Went into overtime. Literally the one that got the ball the last. What I can tell you is this: is you talk about it a lot. I think Fairview's got a great chance to win this game. But when I say you better know where number 2 is at all times, you have to know where he is at all times. Number 2 almost single-handedly beat CPA by himself. They got a really good quarterback in Xavier Shepard. They got a nice wide receiver in Jaden Harrison. But the bottom line is number 2 is the one who can beat you. You better know where he is every snap.
At Pearl-Cohn.
Do not kick to him.
A little moisture in the air wouldn't hurt us too bad. Maybe a little cold.
Tony Bernetti told me if you get there early, he will comp you a fish sandwich.
All right. Summit in the 5A group could be the best game across the state all night. Looking at 2 number 1s coming in, obviously Fairview and Pearl-Cohn's number 1 as well. Summit 8-2 coming in, 9-2 now against Beach, 12-0 undefeated. Old Sparty, Beach quality wins. Henry County 34-31, Hendersonville 35-21, Springfield 49. Oh, let me give a little shout out to my boy Dustin Wilson at Springfield. He said Beach is the best team they saw all year long. They beat Lexington, one of my old schools, to move on the other week. Shout out to Springfield. Hillsboro 20-14 and 10-3, beat them twice. What did Old Sparty got to do?
Well, they're going to have to contain Cayman Dunlap. They're a lot like – they're going to run the football. They can throw it, but they're going to run the football. Cayman Dunlap, they're Mr. Football semifinalist. He's only about 5'6", 150 pounds, but he runs like a dang 185-pounder. He kind of hides behind that line, and then he's on you. But it's going to be running game versus running game. Who can stop whose running game?
Ravenwood 10-2 at number 1, Cane Ridge 11-1. We talked about it. Cane Ridge beat Marshall 27-20, Brentwood 28-13, Submerta 35-0. I'm going to make one prediction. This game is going to be a whole lot closer than what people think.
Oh, I think so too. But what they're going to have to be able to do, they're going to have to be able to block however many Cane Ridge sends. They'll probably play them man on the corners and then have 2 safeties. They're going to send 7. They're going to have to be able to block those 7. If they do, Cane Ridge is in trouble. If they don't, Ravenwood's in trouble.
Popcorn City.
I like it. That's big.
Popcorn City from this point forward is a win, and that's what we're looking for. We're
Okay.
trying to get a win here. I would go Frosted Tips. I don't have enough hair. You don't have any hair.
None of them are at home either, are they? They're all on the road?
Summit is at home.
Summit's
hosting Beach.
That's big time.
So best of luck to those 3. Man, if we could just come out. Look,
You predicting?
I'm going to predict that there's a win coming out of those 3. There's a win coming out of those 3. Somebody,
I think there's 2 wins.
Somebody from WCS Sports Conference is advancing. That's all I can say right now at this point. You think there's 2 wins?
I think
that's
there's
a
2
bold
wins.
prediction from Tate Mathews.
I think there's
it's
2
really
wins.
bold.
2 wins.
It's always a pleasure, my friend.
Hope there's 3.
Glad you had your insight on the cheerleading.
Thank you. I'll do better next
Maybe
week.
one day the B-roll footage will pop out of our mess-ups. Mr. Producer, do we have anything?
I found a little bit on Queens University of Charlotte Royals. They're in the South Atlantic Conference, NCAA Division II, and Rex the Royal, the mascot.
Rex the Royal.
Yeah.
We got to get some swag from Queens University.
Without a doubt.
Thank you for joining us. And if you watched us from Gallatin this week, I hope we didn't make your ears bleed. We'll see you next week on the WCS Sports Connection.